Chapter 29. Rue stayed tense, waiting for the steel bars to rip through him. A moment passed. He peeked out. The 8 orbs spun lazily in the air, the one with the painted face turning slowly to smile at him. Rue frowned and looked at the floating general. The man also had a look of confusion on his face. Suddenly he was jerked to the side and thrown powerfully into the wall. A huge man stepped out of the shadows, drawing a great sword from over his back. It was Cord, and he did not look pleased. The warrior advanced, tables and chairs scattered, pulled apart by some unseen force. The assassins turned to attack, but were suddenly thrown high into the air to hit the ceiling with force. They were brought down even harder, crashing into the floor amongst the bodies of the fallen pirates. Cord nodded at Earthmender Elsa as he strode by. "Mother," he said curtly. She turned to the warrior, still gently dodging the attacks from the frenzied Uvi. "Ah, there you are," she said. "You have managed to lose Rin, I see." "She's out somewhere being subtle, I'm sure." He watched the old woman sway away from 3 flashing attacks from the tall assassin. "What are you doing?" "Oh, making new friends." She spun and Uvi lunged past her. "This one is very enthusiastic." "Stand still, you wretched woman!" the assassin roared as he weaved his blade through the empty air and then ducked a swooping attack from Crowfoot. Cord frowned and flicked his hand. Uvi was flung across the room. "Stop playing around, Mother. People have died." Elsa nodded as she looked around. Bodies lay scattered across the floor. "Yes, tonight has got out of hand. We seem to have kicked a hornet's nest." Cord had crouched down and was examining the fallen assassin. "Any idea who they are? They have runes carved into their arms like Rin's." "No idea, but their magic has a familiar corruption to it." Cord nodded grimly. "We need to talk about that." Rue struggled to his feet, pulling Vint up with him. Oni settled onto his shoulder. Cord glanced at them, and his eyes narrowed as he settled on Rue. "You again." Rue shrugged sheepishly. Oni waved happily. "My new student," said the Earthmender. Some of the assassins were struggling to rise. "More are coming," she said. Cord nodded. He stood and turned to face the deep shadows of the warehouse. Red runes began lighting up in the darkness. The shadows moved and grew as hooded figures poured in from the streets. Uvi struggled to his feet. "They must not escape," hissed the assassin. The hooded men rallied towards him, their forearms blazing red with renewed ferocity. Cord fell back under the assault as the assassins came at him in waves. Soon the warrior was surrounded by the dark figures, his great sword moving faster than the eye could see, catching multiple attacks and returning vicious blows of his own. A gash opened up over his shoulder. He downed 2 assassins with a monstrous backhand swipe. More closed in, trying to overwhelm Cord with their numbers. He stretched out a hand and a dozen assassins flew across the room, tumbling away into the darkness. "Mother," he asked through gritted teeth, "is Finra with you?" A long sword shattered over his armguard. His glare sent an assassin reeling across the warehouse, flinging him against a distant pillar. "Yes, dear," she said. General Hawkins rose up shakily behind the warrior. Rue watched as the 8 orbs dropped to the floor and rolled into formation, 4 becoming wheels, the largest the body, and the 2 spike balls floating up to become a morning star hands. Finally, the painted face rolled on top to become the head. Rue frowned. What was the general doing? What use could the small doll be? Cord was absorbed in the whirling attacks of the assassins, still talking to Elsa. "Perhaps you should set Fenrir loose." "You're doing fine, dear. Let's not scare them all off just yet," said the old woman. She seemed content to watch the fighting from a distance. Rue stood beside her, unsure of what to do. He kept an eye on the general. Hawkins stepped over the tiny cannonball. He opened his hands. Tendrils of colour began to pour off him, flowing down his arms and snaking off his fingers into the doll. The writhing strands of red, blues and greens seemed to fill the doll, expanding it. Roo watched in amazement as it grew to the size of a dog, then a pony, then a bull, then the size of a wagon. It rumbled towards Cord, its huge iron orbs crushing the wooden floor beneath it. "Watch out!" screamed Roo. The end of chapter 29. And if you enjoyed that, leave me a like and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you all soon. Bye.